Hello there and welcome once again to the Mayor's Magazine. I'm Mick Cornett, the Mayor of Oklahoma City, and this is our program for October 2017. Thank you for joining us. In this first segment of today's show, we're going to talk a little bit of a futuristic manner with Dirk Spiers. He's the president of Spiers New Technologies Inc. They're involved very heavily in the batteries and the operation of electric vehicles. Is that a fairly good summary of your life endeavor at this point?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's back up and see how you got here. You didn't grow up, like me, over on 58th Street here in Oklahoma City. Where are you from?
I'm Dutch, born in Amsterdam, grew up in the Netherlands, moved to Spain, moved to England, worked parts in Germany, lived a long time in England, in London, had an agency there, came to the US, did some chunks of time in Asia, and now Oklahoma City.
Well, and what caused you to be moving around so much as a younger person?
The Flying Dutchman. Holland is a very small country, so it's very internationally focused.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I always moved around.
And so, what got you interested in this higher forms of technology? What was your education like?
Just basic education. I like to read. I like to think, and I have been convinced and interested in electric vehicles for a long time. I think its time has come. Battery technology is improving rapidly. Prices are coming down. Electric motors are a very trusted form of
transportation.
Transportation, it sits in your coffee machine, in your toothbrush, in everything, and I believe that electrification is happening. And when I started out a couple of years ago, people thought we were insane, and we probably were. But if you're not crazy, then nothing happens. And now if you look at the industry, the OEMs, the automotive industry, they're investing hundreds of billions of dollars in electrification. And
where is the best research and development taking place in this area? What part of the world?
I think initially it started in the US. But I think we let that opportunity slip a little bit, and now it is in Europe and in China. I would say in equal parts, but it probably originated in the United States. Lithium-ion, which is a type of chemistry used for batteries, was a US invention. I think it was ExxonMobil, the oil company, who invented it. They let it go. Eventually it got sold to Sony. And now variations of that umbrella chemistry is being used in electric vehicles by a lot of companies all around the world.
Are we really talking about really just the growth of the battery and the life expectancy and the power that can be stored in a battery? Is that really the key element of electrification in transportation?
Yeah, I think energy density, how much energy can you take out of a given volume or a given weight? That's very important, and that they make huge steps there. And the other thing is cost. How much energy per dollar, and those prices are coming down rapidly. When the Chevy Volt came out, 2010, 2011, probably we were talking about $1,000 per kilowatt hour. Now we are talking about $140 per kilowatt hour. So that's a step change. Mm-hmm. So if you keep going forward like that, by 2023, 2025, an electric vehicle will be cheaper than a combustion engine vehicle. It will have 300-mile range. You have more space because you don't have that big, noisy, old technology sitting there anymore. You have instant torque, and it's a very sophisticated drive.
Looking forward, about how you would charge these vehicles, and generally we're talking passenger cars and trucks from the question I'm asking. Will you do that at home? Will you do it at a charging station? How do you see the consumer tapping into that
so at the moment, on average in the United States, people drive 38 miles per day on average. Commute, going to school, library, church, etc. Then it's very easy to charge at home overnight. It's also very cheap. And every morning you get in a car which is fully charged. You can also charge at work. We are based here just off Santa Fe, and we have several charging stations. So every night when I leave home, work, I'm fully charged again. But you can also, and you see that, charging stations on the motorways. It's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
But if you have an electric car with 300-mile range, and they're available right now, then charging you do at home.
Do you think fleets will be one of the first advents of this?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
what type of fleets would you think would
Now
tap
you
into
start
that
to see
first?
it in China, Didi Chung, which is sort of the competitor, the equivalent of Uber Lyft in China. I foresee that by 2020, 2025, all the cars will be electric. Also, it's much easier to charge an electric car than to fuel a combustion engine. Look at Manhattan. In Manhattan, there are only a few fuel stations left, but there are many electric car stations. So it becomes easier to charge an electric car than to fuel a combustion engine. And fleets, anything from, cities, it's also easier to maintain. Then fleets talk about transit, buses. I know Embark just won a contract for their first 2 electric buses. But if you look at a bus, an electric bus is so much lower in maintenance than a combustion engine. Plus, you have no noise, and if you work live in an inner city or have a school in an inner city, no noise is good. Also good for home values. You have no smoke, you have no pollution, you have no smell. I like to run, you don't see it, but I like to run or I like to cycle. And every time a big truck comes by, a diesel truck, I smell it. I breathe that stuff.
Let's talk about your specific business. What does it do in Oklahoma City?
We do life cycle management of advanced battery packs. So if a battery pack goes wrong for a customer anywhere in the United States, for a variety of OEMs like GM, Nissan, Ford, the battery pack comes to us. We refurbish it, we test it, and it goes out. And then the other thing we do, if that pack can't go back into a vehicle because that vehicle doesn't exist anymore, or that vehicle is too old, or there's something else, we repurpose it and we build energy storage systems out of it. And those energy storage systems can be used by utilities, by commercial entities to reduce their demand charges, for backup, for demand response, you name it. And we believe that eventually every household, every entity will have its own battery pack.
Tell me about your employee base. How many people? What's their
I think
educational background?
we started about 2.5 years ago with 2 people. We now about 60. We keep growing. We hired 2 more offer letters went out this week, so that keeps continuing. And what we are looking for, we are energy centric, so we have a lot of engineers, electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, operators, technicians. That is the main makeup of our crew.
These engines that come in or the batteries the batteries that come in, how do they arrive in Oklahoma City? Are they brought on rail? Are they brought in trucks?
They come in at the moment on trucks. That will change, I think, in the future to rail as well. And then for one OEM, we ship by air. We have special FAA, DOT dispensation. So we are one of the very few companies who are allowed to ship these big battery packs by air.
Sounds like Oklahoma City's central location is part of the story here.
Absolutely.
And
I never thought we would
transportation
be.
corridors.
Yeah, and it's key because a battery is relatively big, relatively heavy. You have hazmat 9 rules. So being in the center of the country helps. And we are, for GM, we are the sole distribution center for advanced battery packs in the United States.
And so how large can your company get?
At the moment we saw phenomenal growth in the first 2.5 years. But then we started with nothing. So everything is growth. At the moment in the US, we see a penetration, electric vehicle penetration of about 1%. We think that will eventually go to 100%. So, do the sum.
The sky is the limit.
Yeah, we might screw it up, but a company like us, and we like it to be us, will be a big company in 15, 20 years.
Well, I want to thank you on behalf of the citizens of Oklahoma City for choosing Oklahoma City to locate your business and taking advantage of our central locations and other incentives that are involved, and your ability to help us attract highly educated people is very, very helpful.
Yeah, and I hope that not only the city, but mainly the state of Oklahoma will invest in education so that we have engineers which we can hire for the future. Also, we would like to see more EV infrastructure. I think OG&E is doing a great job, but we need more charging infrastructure in the city. Embrace renewables, because it's now the cheapest form of energy. We're already doing it with wind, but coming from Holland, one of the great things of Oklahoma, I think this is the 4th brightest state in the union. It's fantastic. The sun always shines. We should embrace solar more, especially because it's so cost effective.
Dirk, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks for being here.
All right, he is Dirk Spiers, president of Spiers New Technologies Inc. right here in Oklahoma City. Thanks for all you're doing. We'll have more on the Mayor's Magazine right after this.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. Those we use all the time with hardly a thought. Those that are silently standing by to save our lives. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere we go. Many mobile devices will now bring you wireless emergency alerts, real-time information directly from local sources you know and trust. With the unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know, wherever you are.
Welcome back to the Mayor's Magazine. Well, in this segment, we're going to talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder with a guy who knows the team and the behind-the-scenes information very well. His name is John Hamm. John, welcome to the Mayor's Magazine.
Thanks for having me on.
And you're a native Oklahoman. Give us a little bit of background. Where would we have found John Hamm when he was just a little guy learning to dribble the ball for the first time?
Yeah, so I was born in Muskogee, Oklahoma. Learned to shoot a basketball in a little cul-de-sac that we lived in. Moved to a small town called Wetumpka when I was 7 or 8 years old. Spent a little bit of time in Lawton, but moved back and graduated from Wetumpka High School, and so I've been in the OKC area for about 20 years.
And you have somewhere along the line become a journalist. How did that happen?
You know, it's become my side career. My main career is as a network admin in the IT industry, but covering the Thunder has become a side gig over the past few years. So between writing and radio and just talking about the team, I've kind of found a little niche there. Yeah.
Well, I know our audience is saying, well, ask him about this year's team. What a summer. What a summer this has been.
Yeah, it definitely has. So, you know, you think back last season, I mean, granted, there were no title expectations, but it was fun. It was fun to cover the team, fun to watch the team. Expectations were off. Russell Westbrook did some amazing things. And still, you looked at the team and wondered, how can they actually get that next star player? And instead, Sam Presti said, you know, we'll just watch and I'll go get 2 of them. So it is, this coming season is going to be a lot more fun than I think people realized. And yeah, it's remarkable in this league how things can change almost in an instant.
And of course, you know, I probably won't do a good job of communicating, but Sam's strategy is always to just keep adding elements to the team that can be, you know, bought or sold or traded or, you know, somehow dealt within the confines of the league and their intricate rules. And he continually, when you trace back what he paid for that and what he sold here, he should be like a stockbroker. I mean, he's really good at cashing in at the appropriate time.
If you have a Ford Pinto, you might want him to trade it in for you. He'll probably get you a good deal. Sam has always been very opportunistic. I think he and his staff keep a very good pulse on the league, what else is going on, because other teams, maybe they need to, you know, dump some salary, and, you know, Sam has always been able to kind of leverage those deals in his favor. Again, you mentioned all of these intricate salary cap rules that come into play. It's something that he's done year after year, and, you know, working within, you know, some restraints I think that the organization has had to keep this team competitive, to have a team that has had, you know, winning records like this since 2010. It's fairly rare to have a sustained success like this.
Now, this is a small market. where's the money coming to make all this viable? Do you spend much time looking at that, or do you just kind of worry about the roster aspect?
No, the financials always fascinate me. So Oklahoma City is the league's third smallest market, and the league as a whole has a revenue sharing model. Every team competes against each other, but they're all under the NBA umbrella. So in order to keep other teams afloat, there is a revenue sharing model. So teams like the Lakers that just print money kind of move that money to some of the smaller market teams. Well, Oklahoma City pays into that revenue sharing model, and that just goes to show how well they're doing, and that as the third smallest market, there's teams above them that, they're helping keep operational. So,
well, what revenue is shared?
So, every team, there's a national TV deal that every team gets a piece of.
And is that a worldwide deal? Is that?
Yeah,
they're sharing international revenue and.
Yeah, So in terms of like the national TV contracts, those $1 billion deals get split up between the teams equally. But then each team has local media rights, local broadcast rights, be it radio or TV. Obviously, ticket sales at the arena. So Oklahoma City has never had a problem selling out the arena here. That helps. And obviously the merchandise is very popular. So there's a lot of these revenue streams that come in that make Oklahoma City very profitable, I think.
Okay, so did you see the last move coming? Carmelo's, it was kind of rumored for a while, but it just kind of seemed one of those things that was fun to talk about.
Right.
Did you actually think there was something to this along the way?
The surprise to me was that he actually agreed, because he had a no trade clause. He had control over his future. That he agreed to come to Oklahoma City. Now, there was some speculation, and I had heard that, Oklahoma City would like to make another big move. They felt like adding a knockdown shooter, a spot-up shooter in the mold of Carmelo Anthony would really benefit the team. But we were just all kind of skeptical here. Like, is he really going to leave New York City for Oklahoma City? But, whenever the word came out, I wasn't totally shocked that they were after him because, if you connect the dots, there were some connections there. And Carmelo Anthony at Media Day the other day seems ecstatic to be here. So it's going to be fascinating to see how it all comes together.
How do you think this team will look on the floor in a manner that the average fan might notice? How will this be different?
Yeah, Oklahoma City, I think, has long been kind of sticking to traditional. You get a 7-foot big man, you get a 6'10" athletic power forward, and kind of stuck to some of these
That's
long.
the way it's always been, as far as I can remember, the 10 years.
Right. Always went after the athletes, and would kind of fudge in that favor whenever they were evaluating players. Now, the league has changed. Especially over the past 3 years. Teams are getting smaller. They're shooting more three-pointers. Space on the floor is something that teams really crave. Last year's team just did not have enough shooters. And so it really hampered, Russell Westbrook, even though it doesn't look like it. He, obviously posted amazing stats. It hampered Steven Adams. But now when you add Paul George, Carmelo Anthony, those are guys that can hang out on the perimeter, and other teams are going to have to respect. And, if they collapse, it's going to open up some opportunities for Russ to get those guys some shots. Now, on the other hand, George and Anthony aren't going to get the number of attempts probably that they're used to getting. So, it sounds like they're older guys. Carmelo's 32. Paul George is 28, I believe. They've kind of had their time in the league, and maybe they're willing now, in order to pursue a title, to kind of put that aside.
Yeah. So a lot of guys will be facing the basket.
I think so.
If fans watched the series with the Rockets last year, they saw what that can look like when just a series of different players are all shooting threes, and they happen to get hot all at the same time. It can be an amazing display.
Right.
And it seems like the scoreboard just keeps going. It just keeps going and going and going because threes add up really fast.
Yes.
So how will Russell handle this? What's your guess? Last year it was kind of the season of Russell, and a lot of it was surrounding him, the publicity and on the floor, and of course the usage number was off the chart. But is he going to be comfortable in this role?
It does remain to be seen. Sometimes, maybe having that many opportunities appeals to him. But on the other hand, Russ, obviously played with Kevin Durant for a number of years, and did not dominate the basketball to that extent when Kevin was here. I think there's an expectation that he understands it's on him to make this work.
Right.
That having had to carry the team the way he did last season, and like you said, it was out of necessity. The Thunder just really weren't in a position to just pivot and go get another star player immediately. These things take time. And it was a very young team. And so in order for them to win, Russ kind of had to dominate the basketball the way he did. But by that Houston series, I think he was pretty gassed.
Yeah.
So I think getting in the reinforcements is something he's going to embrace. And, look, he's, I think, kind of led the charge this summer, especially getting to know Paul George and then them working together to talk to Carmelo Anthony about coming to Oklahoma City.
All right. I'm going to give you a chance to promote yourself. How can we hear about this new podcast that you are teaming up with Fred Katz and Andrew Schlick to put together?
Yeah, so this is something that we're giving a shot, and so far the response has been great. So it's called the OKC Dream Team. It is me. So I write for Bleacher Report. I write for Daily Thunder. I also locally on 107.7 The Franchise. I do a lot of radio work there. Fred Katz writes for the Norman Transcript. Andrew Schlecht is from a podcast called Down to Dunk. And we also get Royce Young from ESPN whenever he's able to make some contributions. So it's a podcast we launched on Patreon.com. It's $4 a month. We're dropping new podcasts every Tuesday. We anticipate we're going to have to ramp up the amount of content because the demand is there. And so far, the response has been great. So we're excited to do this, and it's been a lot of fun for all of us.
Okay, if somebody's never done a podcast before, talk them through it really quick.
Podcast is essentially like a radio show. It is people talking about a topic. So this is a Oklahoma City / NBA. I mean, it's probably 80% Thunder talk, and then we touch upon the league. So we typically record. It's about an hour show every week, and on your phone, you probably have a podcast app. Maybe you already subscribe to something from like NPR or something like that. It's a radio show kind of like that.
Okay, and so in theory, you're going to be subscribing, and so this is content that's worth paying for. It's about the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah.
And John Hamm is one of at least 3 people, sometimes 4 it sounds like, who are contributing to this. Thanks so much. I know we're all looking forward to the Thunder season, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that envy the guy that gets to be one of those closest to the team. So congratulations on your career path.
Thank you very much. It's pretty exciting.
John Hamm is with the OKC Dream Team Thunder podcast, and we'll have more on the Mayor's Magazine when we get back.
At Embark, we're not just stops on a map or collection of random people. We are a community connected.
Since I usually don't get off till around 11, having this late night route is really a stress reliever for me.
Our choices on where to live, work, learn, meet, and play grow with the connections we create. And with strong connections come economic opportunities and vibrant communities. Where public transit goes, community grows. Plan your journey at embarkok.com.
I'm Lee Criswell with Street Maintenance. Help us while we repair your city streets. Please slow down and be alert in all work zones.
Welcome back to the Mayor's Magazine. In this final segment, we're going to talk about the Mayor's Committee on Disability Concerns. This was a committee that Mayor Patience Latting put together back in the 1970s, and I think we're really proud here at City Hall of how far it's come, and I'm especially proud of the 2 people we're going to have on today's show. It's Jason Johnston, he's the vice chair of the committee, and Pam Henry, who's an old friend and the chair emeritus. Welcome to the Mayor's Magazine.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, Jason, so what's the big hot topics in this area? What are we working on as the private sector, public sector on disability concerns in Oklahoma City?
Well, one of the best things to have happened as far as the city goes, besides all of the other MAPS things, but 180 has brought us such just leaps and bounds where we were, because it really addresses so many of the things that affect people with disabilities. And I think when we look at that, it also helps people who are aging, who are not necessarily disabled, but are not as active as they once were. And when you have the ramps to get to sidewalks and all the sidewalks that we have, and you have so many things taken care of that we take for granted now, that back when George Lewis was in the early days of this, it was just kind of pie in the sky. You think about how far we've come. And I think in a small extent, we're seeing more people involved in housing that's accessible. And as you well know, that's a big key for me, because we have a lot of people who are aging, who are, again, not disabled, but it just makes life easier when something is designed for you to get around easily in.
This past week, I was at an event for veterans who had been wounded in service and are now aging, and some people had donated money to go and have their houses rehabilitated. Just a wonderful program. There's just not enough money to meet the need, and so the redesign, and we have hundreds of thousands of houses out there in our current Oklahoma City inventory who aren't really ready for a person as they age, and they might start to lose some of their opportunities. Pam, nobody can see the changes better than you, because you've lived this your entire life. How have you seen Oklahoma City change throughout your life in this area?
It is so much better. I can remember when Penn Square opened. I'm old. And when Penn Square opened, it was immediately popular. And I would go to Rothschild's or John A. Brown's. And to do that, I was on crutches then, not the wheelchair, but still walking on crutches across a big parking lot and then to go do your shopping would wear me out. So I would drive around and drive around and drive around until a close parking spot came open. So I want people to know, I know some people look at the numerous handicap, disability reserved parking spots and think, well, there's 2 empty ones, I could park there. But it means the world to someone who has trouble getting around, and we really appreciate that. The biggest change for me was not even the passage of the ADA. The biggest change for me is I had moved with my then husband to Washington, D.C., and moving home from Washington, D.C. to Oklahoma City made life so much easier, because this city has enough land. It has parking spaces. I couldn't do our grocery shopping for the family because there were no parking spaces at the grocery store. I don't know how people were supposed to get there. My husband would walk to the grocery store and carry all that stuff home. So being in Oklahoma City is better than just about any place.
And you've given generously with your time to be on the MAPS 3 Sidewalk and Jogging and Biking Trail Committee. Talk about your role there and what you've seen, and what elements of that make you most proud.
Well, before my mother passed away, I said, Mother, do you mind that my middle name is now Sidewalks? Because my other middle name was her name. And she said, no, Pammy, that is just fine. But people with disabilities, the number one thing they want to do is go to work. They want a job. And every bus in Oklahoma City is disability accessible. But if you can't get to the bus stop, then you cannot go apply for a job and go to work every day and support yourself and your family. So the sidewalks get people to the bus stops, they get people to the grocery store, to the doctor's office, to their cars. I have a van. I'm blessed to have a van that is wheelchair accessible, but the sidewalks get me to my van. So
and I know all of us had seen that, that scene that we just, hated to see, and that was someone in a motorized wheelchair going down the street. We all saw that before, and I haven't seen that in a while, and I'm hoping I don't, but that's one of the memories I have about before we had this, sidewalk explosion. That was something you would occasionally see.
And people got injured and even killed with their wheelchairs in the street.
Jason, what can people at home do? What would your advice be to people who want to help and don't really know what to do?
Good question. Probably best for Pam, because Pam has the answer to everything. There's so many things that people can do, and just we are a courteous state. We're the kind of people that open the door for other people. Anything that we do, which is a personal kindness, I think helps. If you see somebody that's struggling and they need your help carrying groceries or whatever, just step and do that. That's who we are. But otherwise, we have lots of different agencies around our table. A mayor's committee is almost a clearinghouse of problems for people with disabilities, because we have enough people at that table that we can actually assign that to someone. Or if we don't know, we'll find out and try to find an answer. So if someone has an issue, it's something that we can try to address. But if there are lots of opportunities there, we have our awards banquet coming up on the 24th, and we recognize people in the community who have gone above and beyond to help those who really need that extra assistance. and hopefully people who will continue on. And so that's something that we do as a group.
Well, Jason, thank you for your work as the vice chair of the committee, and Pam for your long-serving service to Oklahoma City in a variety of ways. Thank you too.
My pleasure.
That's going to do it for this month's show. Thanks for joining us on the Mayor's Magazine.